If you've been on the internet at all in the last month or so, you've probably come across a debate of like what age people officially become geriatric. I think the consensus was like 25. As a self-assured 25-year-old, that didn't really bother me, but as somebody who's about to turn 26 in like 4 days, it made me kind of like reflect on why I actually really loved being 25. And despite the world kind of being terrifying at the moment, the hopeful part of me is a little bit excited for the future, simply on the virtue of like who I have become. And naturally, because I started reflecting and thinking, it made me want to sit down and write like a little script, a little essay about how being 25 has actually made my life so much better. And here I sit with you on the brink of my 26th birthday, which used to freak me out so much, just on the virtue of like, it feels old. Like as a teenager, early 20s, 25 feels like young, it's sexy, it's flirty, there's opportunity in the air, but 26, that sounds like marriage and taxes and a mortgage. I don't know what it is about that number change, but it always would like freak me the fuck out when I was younger. Like you get here and you realize aside from taxes, you don't have to do the other stuff. No one's forcing you. Like I want to get married eventually, but for me, like right now, that would just feel crazy. And I think the first time I kind of subconsciously had the idea that there was a certain age where I had to have everything all together, where everything needed to click and feel like an adult, was when I watched Frances Ha for the first time. I think that actually might be one of my favorite movies ever, but I remember the first time I watched it, I was 17 years old, it was the winter time, I was senior in high school. And in this movie, the character of Frances, played by Greta Gerwig, is a little bit of a drifter. She's an artist of sorts. She wants to be a dancer, a choreographer, but like nothing's really working out for her. Like she's in between apartments, she's in between love interests, she's lost touch with her best friend, she doesn't have a steady job. Everything for her is just like a lot and overwhelming, and it's a very solid like coming of age movie for adults. Something that doesn't feel like the main plot is just like, I have to graduate high school. This is set when she's 27 years old in the movie. And I remember this because I remember that there is a part in the movie where she says that 27 is the last age where it feels like you're allowed to not have it all together. 27 is the last age where you're allowed to feel young, and then you hit a point where, you know, you have to have it together. You have to be an adult. There's no more excuse for not having your life figured out. And me being 17 years old, I remember sitting there and like so deeply being like, holy shit, okay, so I have 10 years to get my head on straight. I have 10 years to get it all figured out. And while I was watching the movie, I just had this deep sense of like dread. It made me feel so alone. It made me feel so helpless, like seeing that you could be in your late 20s and not know what you're doing. That scared me so much. And I told myself, I never want to be like Frances. I never want to feel this sense of uncertainty, and I never want to lack control over my life in that way. So I rewatched the movie last winter at 25 years old, right after my 25th birthday. It was the same environment, but I decided to watch this right before I moved out of my parents' house. And naturally, you know, I was feeling a little bit behind on life because I was 25 and still living with my parents, and that was something I told myself that I was never gonna do. I told myself I would never live with my parents past the age of like 23. And that obviously did not play out the way I wanted it to. But when I rewatched this movie 8 years later, I just cried. I cried through the whole thing. I related so much to just about everything about Frances's character. Like her ambitions, her failures, her loneliness, her uncertainty, her loss of friends, just everything. And I wasn't crying because I was disappointed in myself like I thought I would be. I just cried because I felt so seen. Like despite becoming everything that I feared I was going to become, it just really wasn't that bad. And it almost felt natural. It felt necessary. It felt like it was a necessary part of life that I was going through these things that I thought would be like the end of the world, that I thought would bring about this sense of dread and loneliness. It didn't. Kind of like mild spoilers for the movie, I guess. It's not really like a spoiler type of movie, but it ends on like a happy, melancholy sort of note. She finally gets a place of her own. She finally has some sort of success in the things that she loves, and the people in her life that she's kind of lost touch with, you know, they haven't really lost touch. They still show up for her. She still realizes she has them. And the melancholy part comes in where like, it's not perfect. You can tell there's ways to go. You can tell that this is just the beginning of her story, and you're not totally sure how that's all gonna play out because there has been lots of hardships at this point. Even though there's still one more year in that arbitrary deadline that stuck out in my head from a movie that I watched 9 years ago, I feel like my story has kind of like caught up to hers in a way. All of this is just sort of one big long tangent to say that the age that I used to see as like something that's so scary, so old, really does not feel that old anymore. Like aside from health insurance, which is terrifying and I simply don't have the desire or the wherewithal to discuss, I've never been so sure that 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, even beyond 30 are times for still exploring, fucking up, doing new things. And I honestly do feel like a switch like flipped in my brain at some point throughout the last year. And I will disclaim before everybody comes for my throat like they always do, I know that that frontal lobe fully develops at 25 thing is not like a viable source. Anytime I use the term develop frontal lobe just to talk about like somebody being old enough to make their own decisions, people are like, well, you know that's not a real thing, right? You know, shut up. Shut up. I see that under quite literally any video where somebody mentions it at all, so I'm getting that out of the way. But I can't lie to you, I genuinely feel like there have been like changes in my head over the last year, like good changes that I hope stick around. Like for one, like I said, I do not think of 25 and 26 to be like some daunting age. Honestly, sometimes when I say that I'm about to be 26, there's a part of me that's like, oh dear God. I literally feel like exactly like who I was at 21, but just with more money, more stability, more knowledge, more friends, just like a better grip on who I am and what I want in my life in general. Like, why is there a genuine discussion about whether or not this is ancient? Like, this is kind of a dumb way to like make this point, but were we not all just like obsessing over Sex in the City for the last year or two or so? Like, Carrie Bradshaw starts the season when she's what, like 32? In season 1, 32, you know? And I remember watching that and being like, this is peak youth. This is peak figuring it out era. Which is probably a universal experience that like the older you get, the more you realize how warped everybody's perception in their younger ages is of like what it's like to be older than, I don't know, 25. I do want to say, I don't think I was ever one of those people who was like shouting from the rooftops that being 25 is an old hag. I'm sure when I was a little bit younger, I was brainwashed to think that this is terrifying. I know that I was. But again, the only thing to be afraid of is health insurance. It's really scary. Honestly, it's making me feel so sad seeing how many women like online publicly to like millions of people ages like 24 to 30 have been like discounting themselves, saying they're too old to chase a passion, too old to pick up a hobby, too old to make new friends or fall in love. Like, you are literally just getting started. And I want to get this kind of like morbid thing out of the way before I get the rest of the things I have to say, but I have known so many people, too many people in the last 2-3 years of my life who have lost their life much before their time. And it has made me realize more than ever that you need to live now. Like, you cannot be like, I'm too old to do this. You're not too old to do anything. Except maybe like, I don't know, go fuck around in a McDonald's play place or something. I can't think of any other example at the moment. You know what I mean? Like, live. Do not put like a day that you're going to start living, or do not put a day or an expiration date on when you can and can't do things that literally don't have any expiration date to them. Absolutely no hate to her. I'm sure that she's lovely, but I feel like that video that one girl made that said like, oh, I just saw a 30-year-old taking a skateboarding class. What do you mean you're taking a class at 30? It like did some damage to a lot of people's psyche. Because so many people are like, oh, I'm too old to go skateboarding. I'm too old to take a dance class. No, you're not too old to do that. But I really do have to say, I am grateful for the way that like my brain has kind of started to shift. And I'm sure you can be like, oh, it's the placebo effect, blah, blah, blah. But I really do think it's just generally like maturing, getting older. Whether maturing is brought on by like age or circumstance one way or another, I don't think that these changes I felt have been made up. I don't feel like it's made up or by some kind of placebo effect. I do feel like what I've gone through in my life has actually like, you know, changed the way that I feel about things. And it's not because I went into this year trying to be like, I'm 25 and I'm gonna feel different. It just happened. And based on other people's like lives and stories that I've seen, I think this has happened for a lot of other people too. Nearly every palpable change that I've noticed can be attributed to self-esteem. Changes in just like how I see myself, how I view myself, how I carry myself. Because one thing I've noticed 100% is that urge that I used to feel to constantly compare myself to other women. I used to be so bad about this, and it would make me feel like shit. And like being online, being somebody who like a lot of my job is like being online, being active online, that made it 100% worse. Because existing online means you kind of have this inability to avoid inherent comparison, either that you're doing to yourself or that other people are doing to you. And it just starts to eat you up. It can eat you up like crazy. You could see a beautiful girl and like low-key, depending on your mood, it could ruin your day. And like, what does that say about you if seeing a beautiful woman like ruins your day? Like that's a horrible place to be in. And that's just because the world has conditioned women, especially young women, to think that like, oh, a pretty girl exists, that means that you suck. That means that you are not beautiful. That means you are not worthy. Instead of just being like, damn, she's gorgeous, that just turns into jealousy, and jealousy eats you alive, and jealousy makes you ugly inside and out. And then you have all these nasty emotions and you just feel icky. I don't know what it is, but I have actually felt just so much more confident in my own skin lately, even on days where like my face doesn't look quite right, or like my weight is fluctuating, my clothes are fitting a little funky. I look at me and I'm just like, I like me. Like, I don't know. And that's not something that used to be a common occurrence for me. And I don't know if it's like being this arbitrary age of 25 or the fact that I have done enough work on myself in the last couple years that 25 is just like when it clicked. But somewhere along the way, something clicked. And I just felt just such a genuine difference in how I perceive myself, my own beauty, my worth, my character, all of that in conjunction with each other. Existing amongst these other beautiful, smart, talented women, what my brain kind of used to perceive as an inherent threat has kind of just like gone away, and it's slowly turned into seeing that as like a chance of being a friend, or at the very least a connection, or somebody who could inspire me, just all of the above. I think I noticed this change a lot in like not being so caught up in what my face and body looks like when I had to get off birth control and then get an IUD. There were so many changes going on in my hormones that kind of affected like my face and my body and my skin and my weight, and like if that happened to me, I think a year or two ago, I think I would have been freaking out. It really sunk into me how much I've matured and changed in the way that I see myself, because I was not freaking out. I was like, oh, well, hormones are affecting my body right now. I don't look like I usually do. Let's get on with my day. It's been a blessing. And I won't lie, I didn't always feel like much of a girl's girl, and I've been super critical about the term girl's girl and stuff just because it's been kind of co-opted and weaponized against women, but that's a whole other video. That's a whole other discussion. But right now I'm gonna use it in a way that also doesn't really mean what it's supposed to mean, because it's supposed to mean like women protecting other women from men, even if regardless if they like them or not. Again, a whole other video. But I can't really think of a better word in the moment for what I'm trying to talk about, which is just kind of like, you know, not really seeing other women as inherent threat. Not feeling like other women are inherently competition or out to get you. I could be bitter. I could be nasty, and I was aware of this, and I didn't like it. I didn't like how that felt, and I could just kind of feel that bitterness melting away. And all of this just kind of hinges on, you know, having more confidence, loving myself for who I am, not feeling like the existence of somebody else could take that away. Like I said, I feel like every point that I could make about how I feel changed could come back to that, because my next point was going to be that I just kind of lost the fear to reach out to people, to try and make new friends, to put myself out there. In the last year, I have started like reaching out to people, whether I've met them once or twice, or whether like we've swiped up on an Instagram story to each other once or twice and been like, hey, you want to grab a coffee? Do you want to hang out? That is something that me from a year or two ago would never do. Like literally never. And I realized like 95% of the time when I would take the risk, attempt to meet new friends and like meet new people, at the very least it would result in like a cool friendly acquaintance or like a little one-off whatever. At best, I made an actual new friend. I actually made new friends just by, you know, being like, hey, you want to hang out? And they say yes, and then we hang out and we're like, this was fun, let's do it again. And we do. And I think the reason why this has become so much easier for me is a combination of the last two like changes that I noticed that I mentioned. Confidence that I feel towards myself and the bitterness that I felt towards other women just kind of like completely going away. I started like making a conscious effort to like meet more women, make friends with more women, and it's been incredible. You know, like aside from the systemic misogyny and the horrors that face women in the world and in America, you know, being a woman's awesome. I love it. And I feel like the worst thing that you could do for yourself as a girl, as a woman, is deny yourself friendships with other girls that could like literally be amazing in your life, just because there's like some animalistic part of your brain that's telling you that they're a threat. Your brain is lying. It's wrong. It's literally so wrong. And sometimes it just takes like, you know, it growing up and developing to realize that, to click. I don't know what it is about being a young woman, about being a teenager, but you are just so brainwashed. You are so brainwashed to just hate other women, and I promise it does switch off eventually. If you're someone who you feel like you have been programmed to think like that, it does switch off, but you have to let it happen. You have to make like conscious efforts to let it happen, and it will. But if you catch yourself feeling that way like I did, you have to recognize it. Like you have to be able to be mature enough to be like, I don't like feeling this way. I think over the last like 2-3 years of my life, just like making more girlfriends, meeting more women, it is just like it slowly melted away out of me. And I could not be more grateful for that, because I really hated the way that my brain kind of like acted like that, and it was really hard to turn off. Your life would be so much better if you A, stop constantly pitting yourself against women, and B, not take shame in wanting to meet new friends and like being the person to initiate that. I used to be afraid to even ask like my closest friends if they wanted to hang out. It's pathetic. You just gotta get over yourself, man. Like, the get over yourself switch flips, and it's wonderful. And I think the last like tangible change I've noticed in myself is how I navigate my relationships, specifically romantic, but this does apply to like friendships too. For me, this has always been something that's been so strange because I could not understand why I felt the insecurity that I felt. I've been with my boyfriend for almost 6 years now. It'll be 6 years in February. Crazy. That is a lot of years, and I can genuinely say that I think our relationship is amazing. Like, he is everything I could have ever wanted in a partner and more. He has never done anything ever to even insinuate that I am not good enough or just anything like that. And yet still, there was always this grating, agitating voice in the back of my head being like, you're not good enough. Telling me that other girls are so much prettier and he deserves so much better and he's gonna realize this and he's gonna leave you. Like, the whole 9 yards. And just to like really reiterate and hammer it home, literally never ever uttered a word or done anything that could have triggered this kind of thinking. I'm sorry if the lighting is going in and out. I'm kind of noticing it be a little strange. I'm gonna try to adjust. Maybe that'll help. Sorry to the flowers. But anyway, I woke up one day and those thoughts in my head, they just like weren't there. I just can't explain it. They disappeared. Nothing in my life changed. Nothing in my material life, nothing about the relationship, nothing happened to trigger that. Nothing about my surroundings changed. I just kind of like woke up one morning and that thought that I was unworthy or not good enough was gone. And I put this one at the end because I feel like this can only come from combining all of the other things that I felt. It's a result of coming to terms with like loving myself and de-villainizing other women and, you know, all of that. If I look back at the way I was talking to myself and the way that I felt and like compare that to how I act now, I think like, yeah, this is how a normal person is supposed to think. This is how your brain is supposed to work. Like, duh, why was I at war with an imaginary voice in my head for literally years? And now it's just kind of not there. And it's really nice. I can't lie. I think maybe the one thing that I haven't cleared out of my system is FOMO. I still get FOMO. I still want to be places. Sorry, I think that's a part of me. I don't think that one's ever going away. I feel like in getting to this part of my life, the 25, 26 part of my life, you know, the only thing that's changed has been good. Like, genuinely, when I see people making videos like, I'm 25, I feel too old to go to concerts, I feel too old to like go to a bar, go to a club. I'm like, you do? It's like, that's crazy. I feel like that's crazy. I feel like there's kind of a weird internet culture that's developed over being like, you have to be one or the other. There's no such thing as being a person who likes multiple things. You either have to be somebody who loves being in bed with a book and a cup of tea every night by 9 o'clock, or you're somebody who is crazy and goes out every single night. Do we forget that people can like be like one way on the weekdays and be like another one on Friday or Saturday? I just really kind of like hate seeing people, but women specifically in this scenario, act like, you know, their life is gonna be over. Like, it's kind of ingrained in our head that we do lose our worth as we get older, and the only way that we can get out of that is to stop perpetuating it for ourselves. Stop telling ourselves that it's true, because it's not. What, we're gonna tell ourselves we're worthless and ugly, and on top of that, we can't have a passion? We can't learn a new hobby? We're denying ourselves, you know, the will to live. We're denying ourselves female friendships. We're denying ourselves romantic relationships. We're denying ourselves the opportunity to chase our passions. It's crazy. And it's also weird to see the internet kind of shift on this so quick, because like this obsession with aging is crazy. I won't lie, I'm afraid of a lot of parts of aging. I'm afraid of getting older and losing mobility, losing brain function, the way that you are more susceptible to getting sick when you're older. I'm afraid of dying. That shit terrifies me. I am not afraid of looking cringe trying to do something new at 26 or 27. I'm not afraid of looking cringe because it's too old to be asking friends to hang out when you're in your late 20s, early 30s. Like, do we realize how stupid that sounds? Like, do we realize how stupid that sounds? I don't know. Can you tell this is the unscripted part of the video now? Yeah. I also feel like the internet has shifted so much on this because, like I said, I feel like we haven't been this obsessed with like aging in the past. But not only that, I feel like there was a whole kind of like focus on the internet of like finding yourself and finding your inner child and healing that inner child and like reconnecting with the things that you love in your adulthood. And that took like a hard left into whatever the fuck this is. It took this hard left into being like, why are you 23 and at a concert? Like, what do you mean? I really do think if you're going to spend these years of your life telling yourself that you can't do shit, you're gonna reach an age where you wish that you did shit, and then it's gonna be even harder. It's gonna be even harder to put yourself out there. It's gonna be even harder to make new friends. It's gonna be even harder to like try something new when you're 40 or 50. Not only because it's gonna be harder to break into those spaces that you haven't been a part of for all those years that you wish that you did, but it's gonna be harder to exercise that muscle of creativity, that muscle of friendship, that muscle of love. This sounds so fucking corny, but it's true. I feel like at the age that I am now, I love myself more than I ever have, which is really good. That's a good thing. I've worked hard on that, and if I didn't, I'd be a little sad. But I really do think being 25 has changed me for the better. Who can say I've been changed for the better? November 21st, I'll be seated. Wicked for Good, Wicked Part 2. That is my birthday gift from Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, actually. But I'm happy to be where I am. I'm happy to be who I am. I would not redo like ages 20 to 23 for $1 million. Sorry, that shit sucked. Being the old hag, as people have coined it, is nice. It's good. I'm happy. I never said my name. I'm Emma of Stitched by Emma, and this is my channel where I crochet and I knit and I talk about shit like this. If you're new here, I make like crochet pieces and patterns, and you can check those out on my Etsy and website and Ravelry and all that stuff. I did make this sweater a long time ago. This was like the first crochet sweater I ever made. I literally made this one I think in 2021. So this one's old. It's kind of chilly in here today, so it felt like, you know, warranted. I wanted to break out the cozy sweater. Thanks for watching. I know this one was a little bit more, you know, like existential and rambly and not so much crocheting, but I really wanted to talk about this because I've been thinking about it for a while and reflecting on it a lot, and I like to kind of use this as an audio journal in a way. Thanks for watching. I will catch you in the next one. Bye.